Hi, I'm Rob Joyner. I'm equipment specialist for Food Nutrition at the Central Nutrition Center. We're going to create a video for you for general maintenance and usage of all our equipment in the district that lies in our kitchen. So I hope you enjoy. Our first segment, we're going to cover our ovens in the kitchens. We have 5 particular ovens in our kitchens. We have the Rational, the Alto-Shaam, the Aloma, the Cleveland, and the convection blotchet oven. So our first oven we're going to cover is the Rational one. You should all be familiar with turning the oven on, the eye on. This is the 5 cents. Your main menu. As your main menu appears after you've started it up, this is your combi with, this is your steam button. This is your combi with steam, convection with steam, and this is your convection only. If you push any one of those buttons, this would be your steam mode. It would automatically start. This is your back button to go back to your main menu. We prefer you use the menu button, which currently has all our items that are on our menus. So if we had chicken nuggets today, we'd push chicken nuggets. This is where chicken nuggets would pop up. You can change it to light to dark, thick to thin, but we prefer you leave this alone, let your manager know so we can make changes in the menu itself. You can see it's going in a preheat mode, which would be the first step, and once it's preheated, then you can load your oven. I'm going to hit the back button, and I'm going to go into the maintenance part of the oven, which is the most important for me. We're going to hit efficient control. Every day, you're going to rinse this oven without tablets. So at the end of the day, you're going to hit rinse without tablets, and we're going to go ahead and take it through that process. I close the door. Do not open door. This oven's going to rinse for 15 minutes and rinse all the debris out. So we want to follow that procedure every day. Okay, we talked about daily rinsing without tablets. Every Friday, we would like you to wash the Rational oven. So you're always going to go into a strong cleaning. Now, here it shows you exactly what you're going to do. You're going to add 1 Care Control tablet, as it points right down here. You would remove the wrapper and add your tablets in here and close the door. Then it tells you to put 3 of the round discs, which would be this, the red. Okay, the 3 of the round discs. They go right here inside the fan unit. So you would remove the wrapper, you would put the disc in here. So they go inside the fan unit and they sit right in here. So once you put those 3 in there, as soon as you close the door, the oven will automatically wash and shut down. So you do this at the end of the day when you go home. On our Rational ovens, one thing to keep in mind is if you have a spill or something that happens throughout the day, at the end of the day you want to make sure you always wipe that spill up with some rags, soap and water if you have to, if it's burned in there, before you do a cleaning with rinse with tablets, because the particular drains are set up, they're not really meant for food debris. Because that'll get into the piping and start smelling. So you want to get as much food debris off the bottom before you put it into a rinse cycle and keep it clean. That helps keep our ovens clean and our drains from smelling. Part of checking on your ovens to know if you do a lot of cooking and need to clean your ovens more often than once a week. That's a general rule of thumb. But you can see here on our maintenance status we have a good arrow going this way, which is what we want. Down here on the cleanliness we have a dirty. So this oven is getting ready to have a strong cleaning. Okay, the last maintenance item of these ovens there's an air filter located on the bottom of the oven. It is a washable filter. Once monthly, we take this filter out. You push in here on the tabs and push down. You take the filter out, take it over to your 3-well sink and wash it out. Once it's washed out, you shake the excess water out, set it here until the following day to dry. The next morning you come in, you reinstall the filter. Okay, this is our Alto-Shaam oven, very similar to the Rational. You have a power button right here. When you come in, you would turn the power on. You have different modes to cook from. You have steam only, you have a combination convection steam, you have convection only, and then the retherm. So retherm's like a reheat, used a lot in the Rational process, could be used in this, and please check your recipes and menus. But we always want to try to stay away with the combis from the convection only mode. I mean, these are very expensive ovens, and we buy them to cook with moisture, so we always want to try to be in the steam or the combi mode. So here, if I choose combi, would be the right here. I would close the door. Okay, I would push the start button, and we would start. I can increase the cook temperature if I needed to, push that and turn my button, increase temperature. I would have a timer. I can cook with probe with the core temp. So that's pretty basic of the basic of the usage of the Alto-Shaam oven. That's with the rationale. A little bit different here with the Alto-Shaam. So we always want to check our seals, keep them clean and free of debris, wipe down daily. We want to make sure if we have any spills so that we clean the bottom before washing. Now on these here, we have a particular hose. We would turn this hose on here. We would wash down daily any food or process to wash any of the excess down. We don't want to wash large food particles down the drain. They're not meant for that. Now, these particular ovens, there is a cleaner, but you have to wear a ventilator and a mask, pretty much a mask and goggles and that. So we clean these twice a year with the cleaner process, and then we actually just wipe them down and keep them as clean as possible on the inside. And that's pretty much the maintenance with these, the seal and then cleaning the inside. Okay, on your Alto-Shaam, another process in the cleaning, if your oven is equipped on Alto-Shaam, is a clean rinse button. You should do this every other day to rinse your drain and your boiler and everything. So you turn your oven on, go to your Happy Chef guy right here, turn it to the rain cloud, which is there. It's your Happy Chef. And it says cleaning. Do you want to clean? It's your guy. And now you're going to go through a cleaning process of 10 minutes. So that's what you would do every other day or daily at the end of the day to rinse, depending on how dirty your oven is, to clean your oven. This is our Blodgett oven. It's straight convection heat. There's no moisture in this oven. Simple to use. You put the item to cook, set your mark, the oven preheats. You always want to preheat hotter than you're going to cook, because when you open the oven to load, you're going to drop several degrees, and that will add into your time of cooking. It's not always accounted for. So you always want to preheat about 50 degrees higher than you're going to be cooking, and then once you load the oven, you can back it back down to your 350 mark if that's where you're cooking, and then you'll get a lot better product at that time. This oven's very simple to maintain. We just want to make sure that we always keep it clean, mild soap and water, mop any or wipe any spills up. And then the only other thing with this oven that you want to periodically check, back here in the squirrel cage fan motor, we want to keep that free of tinfoil. And you can see we have some tinfoil in this. What that does is that will deflect the air and you won't get even cooking. And then also if that tinfoil rubs, it'll turn red and look like the engine's on fire, but it's really not, it's just the tinfoil. So you always want to check that wheel, make sure it's clear of debris, and keep the bottom clean. And other than that, that's really all you have to do to these ovens, other than one more item. Okay, and one of the other maintenance items here is you want to make sure this screen is always clean. You want to see the motor, you see we have some dirt. You want to keep that free of dust and accumulation. And then this fan right here, keep that free of dust and dirt. Keep those clean, just wipe them off with a paper towel periodically, and that's all the maintenance is required of these ovens. Another essential part of our ovens is our exhaust hood. Our exhaust hood, as you can see, removes the steam from the kitchen. One of the questions that arise about the exhaust hood is who's responsible for the exhaust hood? The exhaust hood is the structural part of the building, so the custodian is in charge of maintaining that exhaust hood, the motors, the belts, and all that. So if your exhaust hood doesn't work, you contact your custodian first, and that goes through our building facilities. Once yearly, we have a company come out and clean all the ductwork, the hoods, and the filters for our exhaust system. We're going to cover garbage disposals. Now, that term is used wrong. They're really called crumb grinders, not garbage disposals. So garbage disposals are made to pick up the fine crumbs left from trays. So we always want to make sure we scrap our trays, or if we have excess food, it goes into a trash can. Now, one of the things about the garbage disposal, as you're cleaning your trays, you clean them off, and you always have your garbage disposal running, so you get in the forward mode. You should hear water running with the garbage disposal, and you always want to have plenty of water running. Always have a faucet going to flush everything down the system. If your garbage and water start backing up, then you have a problem, your unit is quit. So the first thing we do is shut the water off, shut the unit off, and there's a reset button located right here. There's a red reset button. You push it in. If it clicks, you know it was tripped. If it starts back up and runs, great. If it trips out again, then you have something within your garbage disposal that is tripping out your unit. So you would shut it back off. You would shut the unit back off and contact maintenance. Okay, this is one of our 4-well sinks. We're going to just cover the garbage disposal. A little different controls. You have a forward and a reverse, and the stop button, of course. This would have an automatic water feed, as you'll see when I turn the forward button on. It has an automatic water going to it, and you can hear the disposal running. Same principle holds true. If you stop them to do it, same principle holds true. You have a reset button located right here. If the unit does not run, this will be the first thing. You reset that unit and then try it. If it trips out instantly, you probably have a call. You could reset the button on this particular unit and go in the reverse mode to try to release the call, but that doesn't always work either. So if it trips out again, you need to contact service. Other things about the sinks, you just need to make sure on the stoppers that when you pull up, this particular kind, it takes a little force to seal. You're pulling a plunger down with an O-ring to make sure that that seals properly within the sinks. If you have any trouble with that, there's a removable screen here, and check for any debris that might get between the stem and the O-ring. So another item I'd like to talk about is equipment tag out. I talked about the disposal. Let's say you went to use it and it wasn't working, but more importantly, let's say that this switch was bad and sparks were flying out. And so how do we let people know not to turn this unit on? Okay, all your managers have a tag called unsafe to use. Okay, this is different from lockout tag out. Lockout tag out, if you take that class, is for servicemen to lock equipment out as they repair it, and they disconnect all sources of energy from that equipment. This is equipment tag out. What you do is this equipment tag out will have your name signed or your manager signed, letting people know that this equipment is unsafe to use. So you would tag this, take this tie wrap, you would tie it around this and fasten that so it hangs there, so everybody knows not to turn that piece of equipment on, because safety is our #1 issue. We want you all to go home safe the next day. Okay, we're going to cover hot carts now. There's not a lot of maintenance to hot carts other than keeping them clean on the outside and inside. The outside, we want to make sure any binning is clean of dust, because this is the breathing for the motor that pushes air into it. And then the inside, you always want to keep clean and free from debris like this in here. One of the questions general about equipment as I'm talking about hot carts is, and refrigeration equipment is, what happens if I come up here and I push the on button and nothing happens? Well, first thing we want to start is the electric source. Do I have power? Did a breaker trip? Did somebody move this and unplug it? So we always go back here and we look behind the unit and make sure, verify it was plugged in. But we know that this unit wasn't unplugged in. So I plug the unit in to make sure I have power, which I do, red light on. And then you always want these temperature gauges, you always want a second thermometer inside the unit as you do it, as these are not as accurate as time goes on, just like in refrigeration. So 2 thermometers in every cooking and refrigerated equipment is essential. Essential part of our kitchen is our refrigeration equipment. Without refrigeration equipment, we wouldn't be able to store the food and all that. So we need to make sure we take proper care of all our refrigeration equipment. Today we're going to cover the reach-in refrigerator. This reach-in freezer. So you can see we're running 2 degrees. Here would be your temperature gauge. It's always nice to have a remote thermostat because the sensor for this is located right in the coil up here, the evaporator coil. Your evaporator coil sits here. That's what blows the cold air down. If the fan quits for this unit, but the compressor is still working, you will get a false reading on the temperature. That's why it's always important in any of your refrigeration equipment to have 2 temperature gauges. Why have the cover up? This was your evaporator coil. This is your condenser coil. Sometimes when our refrigeration equipment overheats and starts climbing a degree or 2 a day, it's usually an indication that this coil is plugged. We've had plastic bags, we've had dirt and accumulation, so our custodians clean these twice a year, which is usually sufficient. But if your unit starts rising in temp, you always want to check this coil and make sure it's clean. If it's dirty and dusty, make sure you contact your custodian to clean it. If there's a plastic bag or anything like that, or plastic gloves, please remove them to allow the coil to breathe. Another part of the essential to the reach-in is checking the seals at all times. Make sure that seals are in good condition and that they seal properly to the door. If your seals become moldy or musty, you want to clean them with mild soap and water as you do on the floor, because any dust and dirt within the unit gets pulled through the coils. So we want to keep the floor as clean as possible. Another problem we have with the refrigeration is boxes being out too far past the door. When you close the door, you actually bow the door. These doors are not made really heavy, so the door bows and the seals will not seal. So you need to make sure that all the boxes are contained as far as you can so they do not obstruct the door. I want to talk about the basic principles of refrigeration, why I have this unit here. As I mentioned before, you have an evaporator coil, condenser coil, compressor. A lot of times the issues we have with these units is when we load this unit, we leave the door open and we load it. As moisture gets in here, it pulls that moisture across the evaporator coil. The evaporator coil is running 12 degrees cooler than the actual temperature. So you can see this unit is running somewhere at minus 10 to 15 degrees. So what happens is that moisture comes across that evaporator coil, it freezes. When that freezes, air cannot move across the coil, causing the temperature in here to rise. This unit goes into a defrost cycle 4 times throughout a 24-hour period. It has a termination point of 45 degrees. Once that coil reaches 45 degrees and melts the ice, it'll start over. If this door hasn't been open a lot, that could be a 10-minute defrost cycle. You will know that by this unit right here saying DEF, which stands for defrost. But if you've had this door open and you have a solid block of ice, in 30 minutes, if that hasn't frozen, this unit must start back up. And if that ice is not melting, it can continue to rise, That's why it's important in the loading process not to have your doors open no longer than you have to. Have your stuff ready to be loaded, open the door, load up, and then close the door. Now we're going to talk about milk cooler maintenance. The main thing on milk coolers is to make sure all your seals are in and in place, and your door locks are in good shape. As you can see, the seals here are all in good shape, and the door locks, make sure they're fastened throughout the day. One of the questions on milk coolers is what happens if it's creeping up in temperature. In the back of your unit is the coil we talk about on refrigeration. So as this unit creeps up in temperature, there's a screw here to remove the cover. Here's your temperature control to increase your temperature so that it's cooler more. So you would just turn that. If you're periodically doing that, chances are you have a problem with your unit. So you should only have to adjust that probably once every 3 years. But if you have to do that every week, chances are you have a problem with your unit and you want to call service. Another thing you want to check here is if your unit's heating up, is the coils right here located. That's your condenser coil. Make sure that's free from dust and any debris that might have been pulled in. Like I've had a lot of plastic gloves and debris pulled up to that unit. what you would do is you would unplug the unit and you would pull that plastic bag or whatever. If it's dirty and dusty, contact your custodian as they clean those twice a year. Walk-in coolers and freezers. This is our walk-in cooler. Every cooler has a temperature gauge, usually digital and analog right here. We also want to keep a remote read inside too, because the accuracy of gauges vary from time to time. So the most important part of any walk-in cooler or freezer is the seals of the door. So we want to make sure they're always attached. You should have a seal across the bottom, seal all the way. Now this particular walk-in cooler has a barrier strip of curtains, and we'll discuss that in a minute. And the importance more on freezers than walk-in coolers. So if you always want to check your seals, shut your light off for a minute, step inside the door, and you should see no light coming around your door. That is the easiest way to check the seals of your door. As I talked before about refrigeration, every refrigeration has a compressor, condenser, and evaporator. Inside every walk-in cooler and freezer is an evaporator. This is the evaporator in this particular unit. The one thing we want to make sure is, as the temperature would rise on this cooler, is we always want to check the back of the evaporator here, which is the coil. We want to make sure there's no ice buildup or any debris that might have got up there. As part of the preventive maintenance, we clean these once a year, which is sufficient to get us through the year. If we keep the floors clean and all of the dust and dirt out of this particular unit. And that's the most important part of the walk-in cooler and freezer. Okay, I talked about dust and dirt. At the beginning of the school year, before school starts, what we want to do is we want to order Cool Clean. You can get that through the central stores. This product you use full concentrate. So you can either mop it on and let it soak 10 to 15 minutes, and then you mop dry it to clean, and this particular product will not freeze to your floor. If during Christmas breaks or spring break you notice that your floor is getting excessively dirty and you're not able to sweep it up, you can order this product out and do a quick mop in the areas away from the food to keep the floor clean. On any particular chemical, you always want to read the hazard labels. And this particular hazard label here, it requires you wear goggles and gloves. So you always want to follow that procedure, and you always want to know the hazards of the unit. This here talks about the hazards in the eyes, and if you were in if you stayed in this unit, about ventilation. But it's a prolonged period, so you should be able to mop this floor fine, let it soak 20 minutes, and then come back in and re-mop without any problems. Okay, now we're going to talk about walk-in freezers. They have the same principles of walk-in coolers. You have an evaporator located inside. You have your condenser on the roof with your compressor. I just want to point out, you have your temperature gauge, which is the same. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the freezer, walk-in freezers, everything's as equal as the walk-in cooler. The only thing our freezers, we like to see them equipped with a barrier strip, curtains. These I recently installed because we was having moisture issues with our ovens. So you can see they're a little frosty, but that keeps the barrier from getting into the evaporator. This is very important when you load. Always try to keep your strips hanging. Don't prop them to the side as you're letting all the moisture rush in across your evaporator cord. As you can see, the moisture just pouring in there. That just makes our units work harder, and the longevity really goes down when they have to work that hard each and every day to try to dehumidify the unit. Now we're going to cover our steam tables a little bit. This is a 4-well type steam table. This is a particular Modular brand, and all brands are pretty much the same. Some of our brands, this is a dry unit only, but some of our brands have a wet unit. You'll have a drain in there to drain out the water. You just want to make sure that that drain stays clean. You drain the water out daily, never leave the water in overnight. This is a particular cold bar, same thing. You have a drain in there to drain out the condensate after you de-thaw it. If you have a cold bar unit, one thing you want to know is you're going to have a coil, evaporator, compressor, which is located here. Your coil is going to be on this side. You just want to make sure it's free of debris or anything. If their unit is not cooling, check that first. If it is not, then put in a proper service ticket or notify me, and we'll get it taken care of. Okay, 90% of our steam tables are electric. They're powered with the twist lock receptacle. One thing I wanted to keep in mind on the twist lock receptacle, when you plug it in, you give it a twist to the right, henceforth it's named twist lock. You should not be able to pull this plug out. If you can pull this plug out, you have a loose connection. That means, and I get a lot of calls, your steam table might work half the time, might not work. If that's the case going on, make sure you twist your twist lock in so it's a good firm connection electrically, and that'll help solve a lot of your problems with the steam table. Discuss dishwasher maintenance and proper usage. We have two different dishwasher machines in our district, many different sizes, but typically we have the Hobart brand and we have the Myco brand. This is a particular Hobart OptiRinse. So we're going to discuss, first you would fill the unit, turn the water on. Once the water is filled to basket height, okay, you would close the doors, of course. Most of them have start buttons. Start button, and you repeat your rack through. You want to always make sure your wash is at a minimum of 160 and your final rinse is 180. The way we test that is we use our test strips. You can usually weave these through a port and send it through. And this is a good logbook of all the test strips that have been taken and dated. So they run a test strip to know that is accurate. Not only verifying it here, but verifying it with the test strip. As this particular rack runs through, we'll see that the final rinse should be above 180. That is the sanitizing process of our trade. Your chemical agents, your rinse agent and your cleaning agent is only to help clean our trade. They are not for sanitizing purposes. The 180, as you see here, we're at 189, 190. That is the sanitizing purposes of the unit. If you have to run out of chemical and here are a rinse agent, you can still run your trays through to sanitize them for the next day's use. Okay, now we're going to talk about particular maintenance of the unit. Every day at the end of the day, we want to make sure we clean all the debris out of our unit. So we'll drain the particular unit. I'm not going to drain it right now, but you would pull this drain plug and drain the water out. You would empty all your baskets, take them to your 3-well sinks. You would pull your arms, which there's a lever here, and make sure they're clean, take them over there. That is done daily. So we want to make sure our unit is clean of debris every day before we go home. On your Hobart machine, the same process follows. Make sure you remove your soap before deliming. You can either remove the soap dispenser itself, or you can prop the lid right here with like a pin or something. This is a magnet so that keeps the soap from going in the machine. Always make sure you drain 2 to 3 inches out of your tank before adding your deliming agent so that it just doesn't skim over the top and go down the drain. Okay, this is another one of our dishes. This is an actual Hobart, a little bigger, a little different style. But to the D-line, you would fill this unit after you clean it, add your deliming agent. You would add your deliming agent in each tank here, about a ½ gallon per tank. You're going to drain off 2 inches of water before you add your deliming agent. And then here on this is the manual button, so you'll go to manual for 20 to 30 minutes and let the machine run. Then you will drain your unit and then refill it, flush it all out, rinse it for 5 minutes, let it run 5 minutes in the manual mode. And then after you drain it, spray it all out with your hose, which would be right here. So we get our hose reel, we would spray this all out after we delime, get all our chemical out for sure, and then you would open your doors, let everything dry for the evening. As I mentioned before, you want to do this every Friday after you have filled it, add the limer, let it run 30 minutes, drain it, refill it, flush it for 5 minutes, and then you drain it again, and then you pull your arms and your curtains to dry for the weekend. You want to make sure always on the lineway you read all the instructions and know what's in this and what protective gear you're supposed to wear. This one here you would need to wear the plastic gloves. So this is our other branded dishwasher. This is the Myco brand. We've already covered the Hobart. Some things about, they're pretty much similar in nature. So you'll see we have the wash arms here. You want to clean these daily. You want to spray them all down. It has the screens you want to spray out in the baskets, clean them and spray them, and every day have them clean. And then once again we're deliming once a week, a minimum of 30 minutes. Now, depending on the water, as you can see, there's no scale buildup, so 30 minutes is probably sufficient, but some machines might require longer. You might have to go up to 2 or 3 hours once a week, or do it more than once a week to keep the scale and deposits away from on the stainless steel. But once again, that's building specific. This particular machine will go through some operations here. So you just want to make sure all your doors are closed. You'll turn the switch on. And of course, I already have this in filled, but normally it would go through a filling process. So as it goes through the filling process, once it's full, we would put so this particular school has a good setup. As the trays come in, you would have a trash barrel here to throw all the excess scraps in. We would spray off the trays as we want to keep as much food and condiment wrappers, anything out of the machines. Food should not be entered into a dish machine, or your cleanup process is a lot worse at the end. So what we would do is we would spray off our trays, we would load the trays, and then we would slide this in and it would automatically start. And I'll start it right now. Okay, we just ran the trays through. We have 2 gauges here. As always, your wash temp must always be above 160 and final rinse above 180. That does the sanitation. As you can see, we have the Ecolab. This is the rinsing agent, and this helps keep the trays from spotting. And we have the wash there, but really the sanitary part comes in your temperature, so we always want to maintain that temperature. Another item about all our dishing machines is at the very end of the table, there's a stop switch. So if you have 3 trays and it hits that, your machine's automatically going to shut off. So if your machine's not running, you can't figure out, sometimes you have too many and your stop switch is stuck, so you always need to check that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the delinement of our dishwashers. The first thing you'll do is, after you've used it for the day, is spray it out clean, get all the food debris out of it that would be stuck on screens if there's any. Then you'll drain the unit, and then you'll refill the unit. Once the unit is refilled, we're going to come over here, and we're going to detach the soap, because we don't want any soap coming in during the delinement process. You can either prop the lid open with a pen or pencil, or you can just remove the soap dispenser like this while you're deliming. That's probably the best method to do it. The lid has a switch on it, so if you do prop the lid, put a pin in here, no soap will come in it. The next thing you're going to do is let out about 2 to 3 inches of water. This way that you'll have room for your gallon of delinement agent. So then after you come over to the drain, let out 2 inches of water, close it, and then you'll add your delinement agent and put that in there. Then you'll close the lid, of course. And on the Myco, you will push your, flip your button over there to delime for 20 to 30 minutes and let it run through that process. And then after that, you're going to raise the lid, you're going to drain it, refill it, spray it all out, run it again, and delime for 5 minutes to flush all the chemical out, and then that would be the end of the deliming process. And then you'll put your soap back in and get it set up for the next day. So as we talked up and start up, you always want to make sure your drain on the Myco machines, it's either on either side, but this particular machine is right here. You want to make sure that's closed when you do startup so that the water stays in the machine. And then at the end of the cycle, at the end of the day when you're going to drain it, and you can pull your drain valve to let the water out of your machine. This is our manual can opener. We've equipped every kitchen in our district with the manual can opener versus electric. Just some general usage. Of course, you would put the can under here. You would pull your handle up, and then you would slam this down in there. I'm not going to open this can of carrots, but you would slam that down. Once you slam it down, you pull that handle back. That's what pulls your blade tight to the can. And then, of course, you would crank clockwise around, and it opens. And that would be the opening process. To clean this, we want to clean this as you're going to get food and debris in this. You want to clean this daily. We have a can opener brush that come with this. It's a stainless steel brush. You take it over to your 3-well sink, spray it down, soap and water. You can pull this pin right here. Which gets us easier to clean. That's about as far as you'd have to go. Take your can opener brush, clean it out, spray it, and then let it dry let it dry overnight up on some towels or up on your rack, and then you would reassemble this like this. One other feature is this is a two-bladed knife, so what you can do is undo this knob here and flip your blade over when you think it's getting dull, so the other edge would be cutting, and then that would give you another 6-8 months to a year of cutting. Just depends on how many cans you open. And then we have new blades you can order through the MCS system. Okay, during the video you'll hear me mention contact service. That's really contacting your manager or me. I'd rather have you go through your manager, but some things to note before contacting your manager. This is the school barcode. It's always good to have that wrote down. And this is your model and serial number. Every piece of equipment has a model and serial number and should have a barcode. If you can get them components listed in an email or to your manager, that is very helpful in me in contacting the right department. Sometimes I order parts ahead of time if I know what it is, and I can usually tell by the call. So that's very helpful when contacting service, which would be your manager or me. So I hope this video that you watched on equipment usage and maintenance will be very helpful as you come into a kitchen or you have questions that you can refer back to the video to help you in your everyday operation. One of our goals at CNC is to provide the best equipment and the most advanced technology for you to help in your cooking process to make sure our kids are ensured a great meal. If you have any issues or questions, please contact your managers and go through your managers. You'll get a hold of me, and I'll get out and help you and be the support staff that I can to get through any problems. Remember, each and every day we have to tackle issues. You might come and a freezer quits or a cooler stops running or the oven's not running, and that's just part of having machinery. It's common in everyday practice, but we'll make it through the day. We'll get something there. We'll get the items fixed as quickly as possible, but it's going to require a team effort. The team effort is on both of our parts and all our parts, that you help keep the items clean. That's the number one issue is wiping down your machines every day, keeping food and mold and mildew from our freezer seals to our milk cooler seals to even our oven seals and just keeping them clean, and just like you would take care of an appliance at home. Make sure you shut the doors on any refrigeration equipment as much as possible and try to limit the access of the humidity from the air and entering, and that will be a tremendous help in keeping our equipment and running for a long lifespan.